Welcome to the Barbara Christensen podcast. The views expressed during this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of the streaming services or the host, and these are being shared for entertainment possibilities only. Please connect with your doctor before taking on any new wellness activities, changing your diet or supplementation routine. Barbara Christensen is a certified personal trainer holding a diploma in nutrition and additional certifications in aromatherapy, Reiki, and other energetic and therapeutic modalities. This podcast will open your mind to the tools to clear the chaos from your life, from your body, release the beliefs in your being, activate your awareness, and remove any blocks holding you back from the life you want to live. Now let's get started.
For a minute. So you guys, if you are feeling like you have had trauma, gone through, like had a friend leave, have, a major breakup, a divorce, a death, a job that went away, like how your body responds in that time of trauma. Like Barbara, you were sharing with me earlier, which is what kind of sparked this whole let's go live and talk about it, is that when the friends left and you had what you would consider major trauma in your life years ago, that your body responded completely differently.
Yes. And if we think about it, even just in science, right? Like the heart brain is in control. It's telling the brain what to do.
Yeah.
But the gut brain is giving 90% of that happiness and that ability to respond to the brain, right?
Right.
But 90% of how our brain is functioning is completely subconscious. We don't even know. And that's our body function. That's the way that our body is responding. So we're not even conscious of the way that our body is responding to our heart.
But we think that it's a brain.
No.
Like until you learn about the science. So I feel like you and we can nerd out on like the gut brain connection. We can nerd out on just your gut microbiome and how it needs all of these nutrients. But when you go through trauma and your your gut brain connection, but you think it's just your brain, can't function. And you get overwhelmed with anxiety, you get overwhelmed with depression, you get overwhelmed with all of these things because your body is not in tune.
Because that's the conscious part, right? That's that 10% of overthinking and analyzing and looping again and again. What could I have done differently? What could have happened differently? Mm-hmm. Why didn't this happen? Why did this happen?
Yeah. And when you are like you were talking before, you were sharing with me that a couple years ago when you went through trauma, like you had IBS, you had all kinds of other physical ailments because your body wasn't prepared for the trauma.
Yes.
And fast forward, and like for me, the same, I went through trauma. I had no idea that your gut was connected to your brain. I was eating what I thought was healthy. I was exercising. That was the only tool I had in my tool belt. So I was over exercising and getting the endorphins because I knew that I appreciated the hit of endorphins, the hit of dopamine that you get from that workout, but that's not sustainable. So then anxiety rises, depression rises, all of the other
fatigue rises,
brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things. And then before I knew, Amy says same. Before I knew about this gut brain connection, what do you do? Like, what tools do you have? You just exercise and you suck it up, right?
Yeah.
You just assume like, this is what I have to do. But now what I really want to dive into is you've recently which I'm so sorry for your current trauma of this divorce. But you were sharing with me earlier that you were like, I'm behaving, your body is reacting completely differently.
Yeah. Here's what's interesting. Everybody's body is going to react differently to trauma, right? And I can look at the different traumas in my life, and sometimes my body was like, oh, I've got to protect you, right? I'm going to store everything. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to protect you, right? Sometimes it's like where you can't even hold on to the muscle mass, right? You're exercising your heart out and you can't hold on to any of the muscle mass because your body's just, I just need to keep releasing. I just need to keep releasing, right? This time, my body kind of just stopped for a minute. It was like, let's pause.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a breath in. What's going on here,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
didn't
But
freak out. It didn't drop me to the ground. I am getting up every morning at 4:30 in the morning to take care of my, high schooler,
Mhm.
going to bed usually at 10 at night with, you know, chronic fatigue and adrenal issues, autoimmune issues. And I get up every morning, I get my little drink going, I get myself moving, I do my little protein bars that I make, and sometimes I have a little cry, and sometimes I have a little laugh, and I just move on. And my body is still processing, but it's at a natural pace. It's at
your
this,
body is showing up for you.
yes,
Your body is
it's
showing up for
sustaining
you
me.
and allowing your mind to show up for you. I mean, Amy just shared, same, like the only tools we had were to go harder, stronger, longer until you fry and shut down. And what we want to share is that we've both experienced trauma and figured out that that's not the way that it has to be because we've
Yeah.
learned about this gut brain connection. My husband died and I was like, okay, I need to go to counseling. Okay. So I go to counseling and they're like, you should do these 5 things. And I was like, great. I can't think about doing those 5 things because I'm stressed out of my mind. I'm overwhelmed and my cortisol is to here. So I have no bandwidth for learning because your cortisol is right up here. And
Mm-hmm.
what you just shared with you're still able to get up at 4 in the morning because that's the god awful hour you choose to get up at. you're you're going to bed at a time that you desire to go to bed. Like, let's unpack that. Why? Because your circadian rhythm, your cortisol is rising in the morning when you want it to and lowering at night when you want to go to sleep because of that gut brain connection, because you're supporting your hormones and your microbiome. So it's allowing you, we want to be able to feel the feels. You want to be able to have a cry. Like
Yes.
we need to cry and we need to feel and we need to express that. We don't want to suppress that, but you need to be able to show up for your high schooler, for yourself in the midst of that trauma.
Yes. And I don't know how it was for you when you were in counseling, but I know in counseling when I've done it before, right? And before I got into the woo of like the shamanic approach and everything, like when I was addressing things, like there was a disconnect,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there was still this deep well that I was not going to go into.
Mm-hmm. When I was in
And
counseling, I felt like I was being talked at,
yes,
not
yes.
to. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, let me open it up. Here's the playbook of the things that you need to do. This is the chapter on grief. Here's the playbook. Go do it and be on your merry way.
Yes. And so it's interesting because this time around, because I am in therapy to deal with the trauma I'm going through, that there's feelings and connectivity. And I actually am like, I love that my therapist will say, well, where are you feeling that? Right? Where do you feel that in your body?
Mm-hmm.
And
Because
I can
that's a
tell.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing. Where do you feel it? But also, I just want to really drive this home. Like, I felt like I was being talked at because my body was not
Yeah, the
able.
body was in this chaos where it just shuts down. What we talked about yesterday in therapy was, I said, it's like the Pink Floyd song, like, comfortably numb. Like you're just sitting there numb and you're nodding,
Yeah.
right? When you're not able to feel those feelings
Yeah.
because the stress is too much from the trauma.
And like the stress being too much from the trauma, it comes back to your cortisol. Like your
Exactly.
that fight or flight hormone is so good, and its intention is to get you out of the fight or flight. Like if a bear is chasing you, God bless that cortisol hormone, because it's going to fire up and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
go into like attack mode. But the thing about that hormone is that it has to come down in order for your brain, that frontal lobe, in order for it to consciously think about what's the next step for Barbara. What's
Yes,
the
and
next
how
step?
many of us have had that cortisol turned upside down, right? Where you can't go to sleep
Mm-hmm.
at 10 o'clock, even if that's when you want to go to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
because your cortisol, instead of spiking in the morning like it naturally is supposed to,
It spikes at night.
it spikes at night.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is trauma based. And it can go back not just to this trauma, but we layer the traumas on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get hit with one little trauma, one little thing that sets us off. And then what happens is it starts flipping all of our rhythms.
Yeah.
And it switches the way your hormones are working. And it switches the way you're craving food. And now, because you don't have your cortisol working properly, you're not sleeping properly, and you're holding on to more toxins, and your body's not able to use the insulin properly. And then you start reacting to foods because you start getting leaky gut. So it's this like inflammation
You're on a
cascade.
downward spiral.
Yeah.
And then you start to gain weight, which is not my favorite, but it's my favorite thing to talk about, because when your pants don't fit, we're crabby. But
Yes.
because that melatonin, cortisol, circadian rhythm is off, then your body holds, like you just mentioned it, your insulin production is off, and then your body holds on to the weight, and now you're getting plumper instead of getting leaner, and now you're crabby, and that's adding anxiety and stress to your problem.
Yes.
And
Yes.
now you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get off? How did we, let's talk about how we got off that crazy cycle, because we've both been on it, storing trauma, not sure what to do. Felt like, I know for sure, I felt like I was doing all the right things. I was eating a lot
Yeah.
of salad, and I was eating a lot of grilled chicken. And I mean, I'm a fitness professional by hobby. And so like I was doing all of the things that I had been taught, but what we were missing was giving our gut microbiome all of the nutrients that it needed, because I was only focused on fat loss and the outside. What does it look like on the outside? But let's
Well,
talk
and
about what it looks like on the inside.
yeah, so even beyond that, I mean, because right, like I am plant-based and I'm also a, fitness professional. And so I was like, I'm eating all the plants and I'm getting all the micronutrients, but really we're not. I mean, I'm not getting 600 different plants in my diet like the person with the best microbiota out there in the world is getting, right? Like that's not me.
I
Your
didn't even
average
know that was a
American.
word. What was that word? The microbiome?
And it's funny because, the average American, even a plant-based American, probably is only eating 8 to 10 different plants continually,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not going to diversify
Yeah.
your gut. It's
Well,
not going to do anything.
let's unpack that for a second. So if we talk about like what your gut microbiome needs, I find it fascinating that the number of different plants, so fiber, people were talking fiber, the number of different varieties that you need on a weekly basis is over 100.
Yeah.
If you think about, like, I thought that I ate really well, but we're creatures of habit. I ate the same 10 things from a fiber standpoint over and over and over again.
Yes, we all do. That is convenient.
It's convenient, but it's also like a disconnect in
It's
our brain.
autopilot. It's that subconscious, right? We go to autopilot. My mom is dealing with dementia, and the doctor says, well, this is actually a beautiful part of your brain that you're on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize that that's just what dementia is. Dementia is your body on autopilot.
Yeah.
And so you forget those short-term things, right? Because you're on autopilot. You go directly to autopilot.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we talk about if you're getting 10 fruits and vegetables, and mostly vegetables, plant-based things, in our society today, you feel like you're doing a really good job. You're like, I got 10. I ate broccoli and cauliflower and this and that this week. I'm doing a great job. But I still have depression. I'm still anxious. I'm still not sleeping 8 hours of sound, really good sleep, or 7 hours. Why? Because your microbiome needs more than that. And it really is related to how good you feel and setting that circadian rhythm for your cortisol, for your melatonin, for all of that.
Mm-hmm. And so I honestly can't even imagine going through what I've gone through without having these tools, what my body would be doing and how my sleep levels would be. Because it's funny, I bought a pair of jeans right before going on vacation. And I was like, well, I haven't bought jeans for a while. I'll get the 28s. And I brought home the 28s, and they're gigantic.
You didn't try them on?
I didn't try them on.
I
And I'm
love
wearing
that,
them today because they're my comfy. Now they're my comfy car jeans, right? Like they are so big. So I went back and I ordered a 25. And I haven't been in a 25-inch waist since I have no idea when.
Yeah.
Definitely before I had my daughter.
Yeah.
And the big change is not how hard I'm exercising. Mm-hmm. It's not that I changed those 10 foods that I love. Mm-hmm. It's not that I, suddenly started adding in animals, because I didn't do that, right? Everything stayed the same, but I started taking care of my gut. I started taking care of boosting my energy a little bit. Yeah. And then I started getting those specific strains that some of us at older ages need in order to actually create lean muscle mass.
Yeah, it's not even at older ages. Like, I love that you're talking about fat loss and dropping jean sizes, because as it relates to trauma, but also as it relates to what we were just talking about with your hormones, cortisol, melatonin, and insulin, having them all work properly so that you can burn fat when you go to the gym. I'm on the same probiotic strain, this little purple pill that you and I have come to absolutely love. Like I
adore it.
I've been talking about this purple pill forever, and I'm in my office and I don't have any of the things to show, but I have been on this for 6 months now. I'm down 15 pounds and I am at the exact same, like you, like I'm at pre-pregnancy weight.
Yeah.
I'm almost 50 and I'm ecstatic because everyone else is like talking about menopause and talking about holding on to belly fat, and I haven't changed anything. I'm still going to the gym, same number of times I've always gone, doing the same things, but adding these strain specific probiotics for your gut supports the hormones and supports your body. So yeah. Not only
and with the trauma, I'm not working out.
Yeah.
My husband has moved into the workout room, so I'm not going to go in there.
Yeah.
And so I'm lucky if I get my steps in.
Yeah.
And yet I'm not losing the lean muscle mass.
Yeah.
And that is so important, because when you're going through trauma, if you need to feel good about yourself, right? Like you need to be able to love yourself, because I mean, no matter what you're going through, if you don't love yourself, that's the most important thing in the whole world. No one can love you if you don't love yourself.
So you have
No
to
one can do
you have
that
to
for
love
you.
yourself. You have to love yourself first, and that also being able to lean in to love yourself is a serotonin, a dopamine, happy neurotransmitter connection. And if there's
Mm-hmm.
a disconnect in that, so like there's two things that are underlying in our this get real. Like let's get real and talk about what we're actually doing. One is this happy juice that we take that is probiotics and prebiotics for all of your happy neurotransmitters. It is
Yeah.
helping all of them so that you can show up and love yourself and want to go to the gym to work out, or want to get out of bed at 4 in the morning and
Yes.
your high school or everywhere, because you have to want to do it before you actually do it. And then you have to give your body all of the veggies that you can, so you get the as much of the cross section as you can from real food. But these supplements, the purple pill, that is whole food based.
Yes.
It is
And that's so big for me.
filling the gaps on the 100 vegetables that your body needs. Your microbiome needs 100 different sources of fiber. I would drop 100 in the comments, you guys. If you're getting 100,
Yes.
I want to know. Drop it in the comments. Drop a big old 100, because I actually have counted on multiple weeks where I've really felt good about myself, where I'm like, all right, I've made all of this stuff. I did a really good job. I maybe get to 20. And so if you're grinding at that and not feeling amazing in your own skin, so mentally not being like, I'm a 10 out of 10, I have all the energy I need, I have the pep in my step, I've got a giant smile on my face that's not fake, because we're not faking fine, like it's
That's right.
real, it's genuine, it's real, and your pants fit, you feel really good in your skin.
And let's also be real. Drop a poop emoji down below if you're having decent poop, right? Because when you are dealing with trauma, you're either holding it all in and you're lucky if you're getting those little balls, or it's just flushing right out of you. Like, especially if you have IBS, like when you are stressed and not getting that fiber, you know, from your foods, from your diet, and your pants still fit, and you still get up in the morning and you have that great poop, and you're like, yep,
yeah,
all is well.
Yeah, right. Amy's cracking up. Like, poop matters. I don't understand why we don't talk about this more. Because like when you're in, and you nailed it, Barbara, when your body is in that traumatic state, you have one of a couple of options. One, you're in the bathroom all the time, taking you an hour. And I'm sorry, but what are you doing in there? Like, it should not take an hour. You should go in. You should be part of the one or two wipe club. Like, this needs to be a thing. The one or two wipe club.
Yes.
Get out of there. Like, it's time to move on. And if you are not, it's something to think about, because whether you're in trauma or not, your body, whether you think that you're in trauma or not, your body is in a traumatic state, inflamed, if you are not using the bathroom regularly. And the solutions that we're talking about, these probiotics, prebiotics, they are just filling the gaps for what your diet is lacking, so that your body can function, so that you can show up in excellence.
Mm-hmm. And it also depends on the probiotics, because coming from myself, who I started having allergies at like age 11, because my mom went back to work and we started eating processed foods. We had a garden, we went to boxes, right? And suddenly I had a corn anaphylactic reaction, and then I had a sunflower anaphylactic, and then a peanut anaphylactic, right? And all of these things And then they're like, oh, you just need probiotics. Well, some of those probiotics are histamine creating. And we go out there.
Let's pause there. Like,
Yeah.
unpack that for a second.
I mean, you're taking something that's making more inflammation, more reactivity in your body, and you're like, well, I'm getting it at 15 billion of them.
Mm-hmm. And well, I used to think, well, I'm getting it at 15 billion and I paid extra money for it. It's refrigerated and it's blah, blah, blah. Whatever brand is associated with, you know, someone pretty that I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy it. The strains matter so
They do.
And every specific strain of probiotics, it needs a prebiotic fiber so that it can grow in your gut. And it needs a phytobiotic fiber. The phytobiotic is like the greenhouse, keeping the temperature right and making sure that it nurtures and grows. And when we talk about metabolism, you need a postbiotic. That's working on your insulin hormone and it's working on your metabolism. And if you're running to the grocery store because probiotics are good, yeah, they are good, but what are you getting and do you even know what it's good for?
And a lot of them are like, oh, well, we don't mix them because they need to get to specific places. And so they're in this capsule and then this one's in this capsule. So they're not even engaging with each other. And your digestion starts in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
The enzymes start in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we want to wait until something gets all the way into your colon before anything's happening?
You've missed so many opportunities for it to do goodness. Is that a word? Goodness?
Yes.
In your, I said it and I was like, well, I don't know. Like to do something good in your gut, which then can do, and I think the point that we're trying to come across with is that if it's working in your gut properly, it not only helps with the serotonin and the dopamine and the happy neurotransmitters, but it helps to lower inflammation and it helps with your overall well-being so that you can show up in trauma. You can have trauma because every day is filled with mini traumas. It could be a trauma that you almost ran out of gas and you're ready to divorce your husband because he had the car last. Like that trauma is just as real in the moment as anything greater. But it's a matter of how do you show up when that happens.
Yeah, if you step on a Lego and your body falls apart, right?
You step on a Lego at home and your body falls apart and then you are hollering at a kid because the kid left a Lego out and then you feel bad about the hollering and then you're, as a mom, spiraling down from guilt and shame let's be honest, we've all been there. But what we're talking about is when you have those neurotransmitters firing, you have what's called stress resilience, where you can step on the Lego, you can feel the feels, and you can be like, hey, buddy, I shouldn't have stepped on that. Like, how about we clean it up? And you can have a conversation on a much higher, more elevated place where I titled this chat, Showing Up in Excellence in Trauma.
Yeah.
You can show up in excellence for you and your child. And the point of the story is that it all starts in your gut. And it's not anyone else's fault. You can blame other people. You can blame the Lego manufacturer for doing it wrong. You can blame your child. You can blame whatever. But if you can take the probiotics and prebiotics that we're talking about, if you're sipping your happy juice on a daily basis, if you're taking the purple pill, if you're doing these things, you're setting yourself up for success and you can show up in that trauma in excellence because you feel good.
Yes, and then you can work through it, and then you don't hold on to it, and then it just doesn't become another layer, right, where you're searching for where's the P in all of these layers.
Oh my gosh, you guys, like, Barbara, I love chatting with you. We're going to come on live and keep it real with Barbara and Dana often because there are so many things that we could talk about. If you guys have something that you would like us to talk about, drop it in the comments. DM me, DM Barbara, let us know. And thank you so much for being with us live.
I'm so glad. I had so much fun with you.
If you want to know the details about the solutions that we're talking about, first and foremost, today, if this is interesting to you, today is what, October 25th. Today's October 25th. Today and tomorrow, 25th, 26th, these solutions are 30% off. You're never going to have a better opportunity to jump in and join us. So send us a message. DM Barbara, DM me with your questions. Like, send us a message, drop it in the comments below. If you don't change,
because you're worth it.
You're worth it. And if you don't change something, nothing will change.
Yes.
We want to show up in excellence in trauma. We want to show up in excellence every single day. And it really is a gut thing.
It really is.
Thank you so much for being here.
All right.
Have an awesome, awesome
Thank
day.
you. All right. Bye.